What's going on, everybody? It's the Mob and Darkflowers, and we're fresh off a month. I think it's been a month, or what was it, 32 days?
Yeah, a little over a
33
month.
days. And that was 86 episodes, is that correct?
Yes.
And if you don't know anything about The Sopranos, it started in 1999 and it ran all the way to 2007. We didn't know nothing about it. What were your thoughts going about it, or did you know anything about The Sopranos before you watched?
I didn't know much about it. Like I knew the premise of what it was going to be about and that it was a really popular show, but I didn't look into it or anything prior to.
Yeah, me either. I didn't know anything about it. The only thing I knew about James Gandolfini is from Where the Wild Things Are. He did the voice. Getting to it, we started off and man, I think they should rename this show from Sopranos to Girls Inc. Because these dudes are fucking chicks. Like to the highest power. These guys do nothing but complain and gossip and bitch about everything under the sun. Like they're never happy. They're always discontent and feelings hurt. What impression did you get?
Yeah, it was very much soap opera-esque. It was like the Italian soap opera de Gabagool. It was very I don't know. I would never think that real true mobsters would act like that. It's very odd.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a big thing about it is that, oh, like their families knew about everything that was going on and it was instantaneous. Like if there was criminal activity or something going on, and that leads me on to something that I'll talk about later, like at the end of the video, but their families were insufferable. What do you think? Who do you think was the most insufferable? Because I got my character. Who do you think was? Because all of them were, except for one character.
Yeah,
To
I
me,
can't. I mean, there wasn't a likable person on the show. There was one person that behaved in a way that made sense, but I don't even still know if he was likable per se. I don't know. Trying to pick the worst character on the show is almost impossible because so many of them were so terrible.
yeah,
And not even terrible in the sense that you would think like you're watching a mob movie so they do terrible things. Like
hmm,
they're just terrible
terrible
people.
people.
Like there's not a redeemable quality in a single one of them.
And that's what I was thinking. Maybe that's what they're going for. Like they did their job so well as acting that you just wanted to hate them all. And maybe that's what they're going for. But I think if you're watching this back in 1999 to the early 2000s, people were thinking that these people were all like so cool and all that. That's what I get my perspective from. Maybe I don't remember correctly or I don't know. But that's what I would think. Like people would think, oh, Tony Soprano is just the boss of all bosses or something like that. But dude was a squirrely little girl about everything. And yeah, he got things done, but I don't know. Getting back to the subject, who's the worst? If you couldn't decide on who, mine was Paulie. Paulie was the worst. I couldn't believe he didn't die in the series. He's just insufferable. He's always complaining, always bitching about something. Like I just wanted to jump through the screen and choke him with his belt. I hate him the most.
I think if I had to pick one character, and again, there's so many of them, but I think the one that I disliked the most was Janice, Tony's
Yeah,
sister.
Tony's sister.
She was just uh,
She's up there.
she never did a nice thing. Everything always had a motive and not a good
Hmm.
one. She was the master and manipulator. She took after her mother like a clone. It
Hmm.
was, and her mom's probably close second. Like they're just, but there's just not a likable character on the whole show. They all do just ridiculous things. And again, it's not even, of course, there's murders and there's doing crappy things and they beat the crap out of people and all that's to be expected when you're watching a mob movie, but that's not why you dislike them. You dislike them because they're just despicable people.
Yep, every single one of them, from their kids
Hmm.
all the way up. There's
Yeah,
not one of
the
them
kids
that's
were
likable.
terrible. That's almost made it harder for me than anything. Like I usually try to give kids benefit of the doubt because it's how they're raised or whatever, but even I can't think of a single kid on the show that wasn't just a terrible punk. Like just they were all just awful.
It's whiny girls, even the dudes. It's,
Hmm.
it's just a theme. They're just learning what they saw from their fathers is they're just projecting what they seen. They're just insufferable girls. And two, going back to the most redeemable character, I know you said that there's one, and I'm sure we agree on both. It's Syl. And Syl
Hmm.
just got shit done. He was quiet. He didn't gossip. He just did what he had to, kept his head down. Do you agree on Syl? Is the least worst? I just don't have a problem with him. I liked him. But at the end, when he died, I was happy. I was like, get him, get him. I wanted him to die just because he was part of the crew.
Yeah. No, I think Syl was the one that acted the way you would expect. Because I will say we said, did we think about it? I did go into it thinking it would be realistic because I had heard years ago that The Sopranos was so realistic that people that were really in the mob were trying to figure out like who was working on the crew with
Oh,
them. And then now to watch it, I'm like, they for real think that that's how they act? Like this is how they want to
yeah.
be portrayed? That part surprised me. But no, Syl he was quiet. He minded his business. He did what he had to do. He wasn't seeking out the limelight. Like he was content to just be second in
Sit
charge and
back and
do
do
what
what he had to
needed
do.
done. And yeah, so I mean, in that regard, I would say he was the most reasonable character in what I would think mob operations would look like.
Yeah, that's what I would think. If these mobsters are coming out and saying, "Oh, they stole like the real life," man, if they're bitches like that, fuck them. Two, the Syl, going back to the show, Syl, he's the exact polar opposite of Polly. So you have
Hmm.
Polly and then you have Syl. I don't, that's what I was thinking the whole time in the show. These guys are such fucking babies, and Syl never says anything, and you think that he's like, stop being a fucking bitch. Like he would just jump up and say that something, and no one ever said that. No one took time and said, stop being a fucking hoe over shit, and like all those dudes were like that, and it was hard to get through. Like the first two seasons were, man, I just wanted to keep on going, Just- and see what happened, but the first two seasons were crappy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I wanted to get through it just to see what the hype was with the show because years later we still see Sopranos merchandise. We still see those. So
As
it's
of
like
last
what?
month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brand new.
Yeah,
What
I mean
store were we
it's
in?
what was it?
It was a popular shoe store, sold Nike and
Yeah,
all
like
that.
for it to have a legacy like that, you would think, but maybe that's half the problem. Maybe I went into it thinking it was going to be a different show than what it was because, I've watched the Godfather movies and I like Goodfellas. So to get in and watch this, like nobody in Goodfellas is running around crying or acting like girls. Like it's not what they do. So I don't know if it was intentionally done that way, trying to make them more human, and it ended up being annoying to us because it wasn't what we envision our mobsters to be. I don't know. I think on a
Sniveling
side note,
girls. Good
yeah,
fuck.
I liked Syl too, just because like he radiated how I mean, it sounds bad, but it's the stereotype of a monster. Like that was who he was. Like I think I even said it out loud. Like Sill's the only one that like makes me think of Dick Tracy and like all the
All of them do,
images of
really. Like they're all Dick Tracy villains, all of them.
yeah. So I don't know. It's just it was definitely not what I expected as far as how they were acting or yeah, of course they beat somebody up once in a while and they'd get orders and they'd go take them out, but then afterwards they'd go down to the meat market and sit around and talk like girls. It was just
Hmm.
it was odd.
It was. That's what I was saying. They should call it Girls Inc. And that goes to the way Tony conducted himself throughout the show. He's so self-centered. Nothing goes on without him knowing. And he's the boss and everything, but like even boils down to women, like no one else could touch his women. Even if he thought good thoughts about a woman, no one could touch her or he'd be upset. And maybe we should be talking about something else before we go. But he's the main character. So, I mean, him being so emotional. And that was one character that I really liked because he was just so wild and he got shit done. That's what I like about going into stuff. If you get shit done, and if you, whether if it's a book, storyline, or a movie or a show, if you get shit done, I'll like you. And that was with Ralph. Ralph in the show. and he was just a maniac, and I really liked his character. That's what I would expect a mobster to be like, that he was just, you know, doing whatever he could because he can, because he's a made man. And even
Hmm.
though he's a little bit wild, and they got the reserve type, and then you had Ralph, and then you had all the rest of the girls, which were the other mobsters, but he was the one that was making all the money, and that's what it boiled down to. Everyone Tony killed was making him a lot of money. So why would you kill your top earners? Because you made that point that someone could fall in that position, but it doesn't mean they're going to make the same amount of money or do as well as the next man did, because he just kept on killing like his top earners, and his top earner was Ralph. There's no denying that. And he was killed over his girlfriend. What do they call him? Do you know the Italian word for him?
Oh, the Guma.
Yeah, she worked at the strip club and she became pregnant, and he beat her to death in the back of the club. Tony kind of grew sympathetic to her and seemingly over like 5 days. That was part of one of the reasons that he killed Ralph. And and, and also he killed his horse, his racehorse, which belonged to him anyway. He just took it over because he's the boss and he thought he should have it. And he killed the horse for insurance money, and that just drove Tony over the edge. Just his emotion. And that's what I think. Like, some of these guys had fathers. They acted like they were raised by nothing but their mom. They were so emotional. They were so heart driven by their emotions. Ralphie was such a good character. That's what I was telling you. If it was just a regular mobster, that they wouldn't be offed if they were making money like that. And those people that were making money would just sit back and they would do what they have to. They wouldn't try to take over anything. And that's what Ralph was doing. He was just staying in his spot. He wasn't trying to do anything else. He wanted to be captain. Of course, he wants to run his own crew, but besides that, there was just no reason for like 85% of what Tony did, or 90.
Ralph was at least fit the mold of what you would think a guy that high in the mob would do. Like
Mm.
he did the terrible things. He was also a creep. Like let's be real. He had
I
certain
liked him.
perversions that were interesting to say the least, but he didn't like nothing he did was off the wall unexpected like you expect a captain in a mob family to do bad things.
Hmm.
So I think more than just I mean the two things you brought up definitely led to Tony's problem with Ralph, but then there was other things too. And then when Ralph, had the problem with the other family, I think that just gave Tony the excuse to take care of it because as soon as the other family was like, "Oh, we got to take care of Ralph," then it just gave him an
No,
excuse.
I think he's endlessly defensive of his men until they directly offend him. That's the only
Hmm.
reason, because everyone that he killed directly offended him, all the way to what's his name? The nephew?
Oh, Christopher.
Christopher. So all the way to his nephew, where he put that little part in the movie that looked like him. He was wearing a robe in the basement, and that drew him over the edge. And stupid ass wife, what's her name?
Carmela.
Carmela. I could never remember her name. She's just so forgettable. She putting in that in the air that that was him, and that drove him to kill him. I mean, it's just ridiculous how emotional he was. By the end, he killed off all those people. Who are you gonna have, Polly defend you? Like he's gonna talk
Yeah.
about how white his shoes are or something, rather than try to protect you. I ran across a clip a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was a week ago. People were posting clips of the show, The Sopranos, on Instagram, and they were saying how masterful the writing was in the show. And the example that they gave was when Christopher, the nephew, was it at a meat shop? Is that what it was?
Tatrioli's.
I don't know, but he was at a meat shop and he shot that kid in the leg or the foot. They were saying how masterful the writing was. So because he just went up there and tried to shake him down and shot him in the foot, and was like, who gives a fuck? And that was one of the flaws. If people think that the writing is so good, is that there was a story about the Russian, and they took a Russian. They went to his house. It was Christopher and Polly. They went to go collect money for him. Instead, Polly got emotional over something and hit him over the head. And they thought they killed him. They put him in the trunk. They took him out to the wilderness, and he wasn't dead. They fought him off, and he began running. Polly shot him in the head. You could see the back of his head kind of get grazed or shot, assumingly like he died, but he lived. And their bitch asses came back, and they were walking in the dark because they couldn't find the dude. So he escaped in their car, Tony was communicating with the bosses, the Russian mob, and giving them money to give an offshore accounts or accounts in Russia. I can't remember where in particular, but that guy was his best friend. The Russian mobster boss was the
Yeah.
guy's best friend that they shot or they took out there, and nothing became of that. Nothing happened. The only thing that happened is because Janice was punched in the mouth because she stole some chick's leg, and Tony did something to that guy, like he beat him up and something fell on him or whatever. And that was the only thing, that was the end of the Russian mob. That made no sense, that it went nowhere, that guy, the Russian mobster didn't retaliate for his best friend, or what happened to the fucking guy they shot. It didn't make
Yeah.
sense. That was pretty big because that could have fell back on him and serious stuff should have happened, but it didn't. And that plot, it's like a plot hole, in my opinion, because that could have set off a whole war if that was his best friend and nothing happened.
The episode itself, I know I saw things about it saying that it was one of the best episodes because people thought it was funny and whatever, that they were stuck out there all night. And you and I thought plenty of parts were funny, but that wasn't one of them. So I think maybe our sense of humor is different than other people's because I saw numerous things saying that was the best episode. It was so funny. I laugh every time I see it. And I didn't think it was funny at all. I agree with you. By the time Tony got out there, and then when they get there and their car's missing, they're like, "Where's your car?" And he's like, "I don't know." Like, you would think Tony'd be pissed at that point. You mean to tell me that you didn't even get this guy enough to where he couldn't come back and steal your car?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. That just it did. It seemed very odd to me. They were fine with it being ridiculous and, oh, I wrapped myself in carpet that I stole out of this van and just take me home and tuck me in, Tony.
Yes, but
Like I thought that was dumb.
in the meanwhile, the main story doesn't make sense. It's
Hmm.
fucking dumb. But anyway, I thought that was the most we could go in between that. I called Vito being gay because
Yeah.
Vito was at the meat shop and he was there when Christopher shot that dude in the foot. And I was always thinking, well, I know Vito's fat and he could be there just eating food, but he was sitting back there staring at the guy at the counter all the time. And I was saying, I'm pretty sure he's gay. And then he turned out to be gay. And I was like, dude, he's gay. I called it. I don't want to go into any more of that, but I mean, I think the most masterful thing of the show, and that really enlightened me, and that was the best part of the show, is that his counselor, what's her name?
Dr. Melfi.
So Dr. Malfi is going to a counselor, and after seeing this, I'll never go to another therapist again. And I think that in itself, Tony going to, I don't think that would work on the street if a real mobster did that. If he was going to a counseling or a psychotherapist or a therapist and revealing all this stuff, you just couldn't trust him. Who knows what he was saying? I mean, why would you? And they all knew about it and they didn't care. I think it's a stupid scenario. But anyway, the most masterful thing I thought about the whole show and the best thing about the show is that Tony was taking his therapy and using it to sharpen his skills to be a better manipulator. And then Dr. Malfi, she was going to her therapist and he revealed that to him. Even when he said that, he was kind of smirking, is like, well, you're really this dumb? You didn't know that he was doing this? And that upset her, obviously. And then
Hmm.
she finally went back to talk to Tony and she was like, oh, well, we gotta discontinue this because this is what you've been doing the whole time. The revelation of that is like, wow, that's like the best part of the show because I would have never, thought that was his intentions, but that was pretty good. I think, if anything, that was the best part
Yeah.
of the show for me.
I think it was just telling that even Tony, who thinks he had everything under control and he was being this master manipulator, still really, I think, thought that she probably never said a word to anybody. And little did he know that they were talking shit about him at the dinner table at their, fancy, we're all therapist dinner. So
Yeah.
I think everybody's just rot. I mean, even the doctors who you would think would be wanting to help, they really weren't good people either. I think that even the other doctor, the second he exposed her at the dinner table and basically made it, and granted, he was trying to prove his point, but tried to make an ass out of her, then that he had no redeeming qualities left either because he told the whole group who it was to basically make sure that they all shamed her into getting rid of him as a client. And maybe he did it for good reason, but
It was
I
for
don't know.
good
I just,
reason because she's been led on by the tip of her nose by Tony this whole time.
yeah.
That was really revealing, and I think to me that was the best part of the show, like I said. But going back to, I thought of something that I should have said at the beginning. Tony's obsessing breathing through this whole fucking show. My God. There needs to be an edit of Sopranos where this motherfucker doesn't breathe like he does through the whole show because you know he's gonna show up. Like that's like 90% of the show. Like him breathing.
I
Get fucked.
well, I wonder if that wasn't just James Gandolfini in general. He was never a
Yeah, I
small
know, but
guy. He wasn't in good shape. Like I wonder if they thought it added to the character and it
uh,
just ended up being annoying. But knowing how young he died and died of heart disease, I mean, it probably
yeah,
was
I know they
him and
couldn't
not a
help it, but
character thing.
man, it's like bothersome to watch because every time he appeared and he was breathing hard, it was just come on. It's like it they should have edited out, or I don't think it does him justice having him breathing. They should have thought about that when the show was going on. Like, man, I think it would have been a better, more digestible show has, or maybe it just bothers me that this motherfucker's breathing all the time.
Yeah,
Maybe
like I
it's
said,
just
I
me.
don't know. I think they probably left it in intentionally though to add to Tony. I don't know Tony's character
Or
because
maybe it
you're
was
right.
like
They
part of the
could have.
whole thing where we totally want to annoy you with every single aspect of these characters. And that's one of the elements is just breathing hard. It's like we're gonna
Mhm.
totally annoy you until you can't be annoyed anymore. But that's how I feel about the show is I'm fucking annoyed by everybody. And by the end of it, like I said, when Tony's crew was getting shot up and I was like, even though I like Syl, I wanted him to die. I wanted all of them to die. It's like I was so disappointed when what's his name didn't die. Polly.
Probably.
Man, I wanted Polly to die. I wanted his sister to die. I wanted his wife to die. I wanted his kids to die. Everybody is, he's just, uh, I don't know. I don't know if you felt the same way. What'd you feel?
There was, I mean, again, I don't think any of them were savable by the end. There was one other character that I liked in the beginning, and then he changed. I really liked Bobby at the beginning, like when he
Oh,
was Junior's
mm,
driver. He just seemed like he was like he actually cared about Junior. He was trying to do the things, and then he married Janice, and it was just like he went to total shit.
mm,
I don't know. I think she, and maybe it was her being in every scene with him, then I couldn't stand to see him either. I don't know.
yeah,
But
I don't
he was
know.
the only
I
other
thought
one
Bobby
that
was
I,
lunchmeat. Like
eh.
he was from the beginning, he was just this ignoramus. It just continued. I'm surprised he lived as long as he did. Because he's like worse than the bartender that got beat up all the time. He survived all that and he beat up Tony and everything, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I like that he took care of Junior.
Yeah, I like Junior. I thought his character was fun. But I mean, besides Junior and Sil, going to the ending scene, I was telling you that the ending scene, I seen it before, and because I like Everybody Hates Chris, and that's the way Everybody Hates Chris ended, and I had no idea The Sopranos ended like that. I thought that was Everybody Hates Chris ending. So when it was going on, I was like, Everybody Hates Chris. At the end, the worst thing possible happened. And I'm not assuming that Tony died because I wish he did die. But fucking Meadow, unable to park. They were like, we're gonna annoy you one last time, Adam. And Meadow's not gonna be able to park. It's like, God, fucking Meadow. What a piece of shit. Can't fucking park. Fuck her. But it's what did you think about the ending? What did you get from the ending?
So I didn't see the Everybody Hates Chris ending, so it was just a brand new ending all around for me. I thought it wasn't what I expected. I actually like that it was at least unique. They
Hmm.
could have very easily made it where everybody had dinner and it was hunky dory and carried on with their life, which I think would be stupid because it's a mob show. They could have shot everybody up and left it, and then I don't know, that just would have been too predictable. So I didn't hate the ending how it is. You can leave it open-ended. You can try and guess who did what and whatever. I think we even kind of talked about it. Hey, was it these guys that walked in at the end right before her, or was it the guy
Yeah.
sitting at the counter, or did anything really happen? So I mean, I actually liked the concept behind the ending, just let you kind of fill in your own ending
Hmm.
however you wanted it to be. But um
I did too for the show's credit.
I mean, so I think that piece of it was good, but I kept watching it just to see what all the hype was about, and there just wasn't any part of that show that was like, I'm not going to go to anybody and be like, oh, you have to watch The Sopranos, like
Sopranos.
it's so good. And again, I gave him credit for the ending. I think the ending was better than a lot of what they could have done because at least it wasn't predictable. And then it was enjoyable watching you go, wait a minute, I've seen this before. So
Yeah.
that piece of it, but I didn't care about any of the characters. Like
Hmm.
it's unusual for me to dislike so many people in a show that
The
I could
whole
care
show.
less if any of them,
Yeah.
and especially the kids. Like I said, I think the kids were the hardest part for me because granted, I was trying to give them benefit of the doubt that they don't know any better because they grew up watching this type of behavior from everyone around them. But
Hmm.
eventually you can do better for yourself, and not a single one of them ever tried to do better for themselves.
Nope.
They pled ignorance and it's never my fault, and I mean they were just not
Just
a
like their
single
dad.
one of them. Yeah.
Yep.
Meadow, went to school and she had all this stuff, and they were upset that she didn't want to go medical, she wanted to go into law, whatever. But then even I'm sitting there thinking, you have a mob dad, a mob boss dad, and you're going to go into criminal law? Like that, just
Yeah. I
that in
think
and of
that's why he was
itself
kind
kind
of
of
rooting for it. Maybe you could help him sort of some way.
yeah, I don't
He's
know,
always
either
thinking about
way.
himself and what would be able to help him in the end. But going back to the ending, and I think New York got upset with all these fucking girls, and they're like, we just need to off these motherfuckers. 'Cause I think if they heard about Leotardo, which is the most ridiculous fucking name, and I'm sorry for anyone who actually has that name, but man, what a name. But he was killed by somebody that we didn't recognize. I think New York sent him. They just wanted to get rid of him because there was so much trouble in what they were doing. When it came to Tony learning about Leotardo, he didn't. Because if it was him doing that, he would have heard about it instantly. He would revel over it. And we didn't see any of that. When it come to the end, and we were talking about that where there's these two black guys, that's a Tony thing that he would do, or a part of like one of their crews in New Jersey to the opposition. Like they sent two black guys after Tony. So that's more of their thing that they would do that. So that kind of misdirects you to like, who was it? And I think it was the guy who was sitting by the counter and he went to go to the restroom. And right when Meadow comes in, Tony looks up and it ends. I like to believe that that guy stepped out of the restroom and shot up Tony.
So I think the reason they included that in there is to make you wonder if his own crew, what was left of them, turned against him. Meaning, did Polly and Patsy and who was left say enough of this crap? We are all going to end up dead if we don't do something. So they did send. I
That's
think it
something to
was
think
New
about.
York. But if his crew did turn against him, who would they have sent? They would have sent a couple black guys like they had done through the show numerous times before. Christopher was usually the one who set that up and he wasn't around anymore, but
Well,
it doesn't mean the other guys couldn't have done the
yeah, it
same.
wasn't just the black guys. They sent the Zips, which are Sicilian guys,
Hmm.
and they called them the Zips, and they always called upon them, and they came over and did stuff. So I think that was more of a thing, or they just sent one of their people from New York because they wouldn't know who they are. They don't know everybody. And I
Yeah.
think that's the most likely situation because New York was like, these guys are fucking chicks and we're going to just get rid of them. And that's the thing that you said I wouldn't have never thought about is maybe that because Paulie's such a fucking worm, maybe he did work out a deal with New York to get rid
Mhm.
of him. That's
Well, so
something to think about.
Leotardo's crew and Tony's were having that squabble.
Yeah.
And so there was the one guy, what was it, Butch on Leotardo's crew, and
Hmm.
then Patsy and Polly were basically the only ones left. Because once Leotardo got taken out, if they took out Tony, then the three of them could work together and do what they wanted to do. So, like I said, it could have been them, but I also think it was probably New York because none of the other mob families that are bigger and have more control are going to be okay with this. I can't remember the family that Leotardo worked for, but they're not going to put up with them squabbling back and forth. Like it's too much. So I think they probably put an end to it. But I don't know. Like you said, Polly was a snake. So for him, especially, he didn't have a wife, he didn't have kids. He always thought everything was owed to him. I've done nothing but take care of you. Woe is
Hmm.
me all the time. So for him to turn on Tony and try and take it over sounds exactly like something he would do. Patsy was still mad because he knew Tony killed his brother and he still had to work for him all that time because otherwise he was going to get killed himself. And then the guy that worked for what was his first name? Phil? Is it Phil? The guy that worked for
Leotardo.
him, because all of them met right before that last episode. And so you
Hmm.
could venture to think that they were like, all right, enough's enough. Let's take out the bosses and just carry this on ourselves and have it be done.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think I like the idea of New York taking care of it more because
Yeah.
I think real mob families would finally figure out that these guys all were just acting ridiculous and try and take them all out. But it could have been either one.
'Cause that'd be more likely because they don't want things to get exposed or things to
It's
drip on down to them. I think logically Tony would have died a long time ago. Like from his antics, they're just too much. Like I said, the family, his wife and kids knowing about things instantly, it's not normal. I don't think.
Well, they know about things instantly, but they refuse to acknowledge that he's a mob boss. Like they take the good that comes from it and then they play dumb the rest of the
Well,
time. And it's not playing dumb to try and make sure that I don't get in trouble. It's playing dumb like we're going to turn a blind eye. Even at the towards the end, like the last few seasons when Meadow and AJ were like acting like they didn't know that their dad does these terrible things still. And
yeah.
I was like,
Well, I
but
mean,
all the vehicles and everything else you guys have, where the hell else did you think that came from?
I hate that term too, like don't eat where you shit. And that's what I'm talking about. Like you wouldn't normally let anyone in your family know. Like if you knew someone because you went to dinner with them, but besides that, you wouldn't keep things so close knit as to if someone got murdered 2 hours ago that you instantly know what was going on and what happened. It's just stupid. That's why it leads me to believe that New York was like, fuck this shit. We're gonna take care of this motherfucker.
I think it makes sense for when people in their crew ended up dead because the wives and everybody would find out and they would all talk that piece of it. But if somebody on another crew ended up, they wouldn't know that fast.
Hmm.
And I don't know, maybe they would. Maybe they were all a bunch of maybe the girls were all girls and so were the guys and they that's all they did was gossip amongst themselves all the time. But I think it makes sense within your own crew because the news would travel pretty fast. It's just like for the rest of us, normal, go on with our lives. If somebody gets killed in a car accident, you do find out fairly quickly. So, I mean, that's the group that they spend all their time with. But um,
Yeah, but
yeah, I
opposed
just
to
thought it
them when
was
someone
odd.
disappears in the fucking ocean.
Yeah.
It's dumb. And I could just go back to like some of the dumbest moments of the show where I think it was the first or second season where they had Bokeem Woodbine and he was a rapper. And that element where Chris was trying to get what was his old girlfriend's name?
Adriana.
Adriana, like a record deal and all that. That was just so stupid. And then it just started to, and that's another thing we could talk about. All these women were all over Tony, and that's what I was telling you is like it makes sense that people are rich and they're ugly motherfuckers. Look at Jeff Bezos, where he's the ugliest motherfucker alive, like 5 foot tall, and he has money, so he could get any women he wants. That makes sense, but some shifty roast beef mob boss from New Jersey getting any woman that he wants falling all over him. I get like the money and the power, but still, I think that in all reality, him, according to the women he get, would be pretty torrid. They'd be like the ass end of the bada bing. I don't think it would be any realistic matter where this guy would have women falling all over him like at the drop of a dime. I don't know. That was unrealistic to me. I don't know if you feel the same way, but
Yeah, I don't. I wouldn't think he'd be able to get as many women. Like I could see some of them.
For the most part, they'd feel grossed out more than
Hmm.
like, ooh, this guy is like great.
Yeah.
Because
The
James
other
Gandolfini is pretty gross. I mean, from perspective.
I think so. You brought up a good point. Like there were multiple storylines that they started and then didn't finish for whatever reason. So there
Hmm.
was the music thing, and then Christopher's movie thing started and it quit for a couple seasons and then it went back to it. So I guess they revisited it, although I hated that storyline. I thought it was dumb.
Yeah, it was stupid.
Um,
There's a lot of
the
stupid fucking points.
the Russian thing not going anywhere when you know that would have been a problem,
Hmm.
some of those things. The one that threw me off to where I had a really hard time thinking that this was ever going to be okay, regardless of what it was, is when he started feeding information to the
The
former FBI
FBI.
agent that was working for customs. Like that would you would never feed any sort of information whatsoever. I mean, unless you were flipping. Like the second anybody on his crew found out that he had given them any information, at that point you lose all credibility. Because if you give him anything at all, who's to say you're not going to give him everything? Like
Yeah.
that to me didn't make sense, regardless of what it was. And
It just
you
didn't make
can.
sense for the story at all. They could probably try to say that he just went out of control with his gambling and him killing Christopher, and it was just a stupid point to put in there. Like he's all of a sudden going to work with the FBI just because. And what was the reason he was doing it?
Well, and he wasn't FBI anymore. They went to it was the import export. And so I'm sure the argument some people would make is, oh, he's trying to make sure, because then if he ever has a shipment
Oh,
come
he was
in, he's
trying to
got
learn if
these.
someone was trying to hit him and if
Yeah.
they had more information. It's just stupid. Like
But I just don't believe that that's how that would have,
that's
because
not
again, to
reasonable
that.
enough to talk to him and
Hmm.
give him tips.
Yeah,
It's not.
exactly.
Like, of course,
So
sure,
that.
you're gonna die, and then people will watch this. They'll say, "Well, he was gonna get murdered." Like, so you could find out from the other people of the family. It's like, shut the fuck up. It's like it doesn't make sense that he talked to the FBI after all this time, and then
Hmm.
because of that, I don't know. And you could kind of play it as he got scared once his crew started getting off, like Bobby and Syl and all that. Like,
Yeah.
I
But he
guess you
was
could give
talking to
him
them
that much
before they
credit for
started
that.
getting knocked off. So
Yeah.
yeah. No, I just think it was, because really it wasn't till the very end that some of those higher ups started going. And that was the beef between him and Phil. Because once Johnny Sack died and Phil took over, like Phil wanted to go after him for everything, because he
Hmm.
hated Tony for
We
um
both, all of us hated Tony.
yeah, he hated Tony for what's his name, Tony B killing his cousin, and
Hmm.
he hated Tony for even reason trying to protect Vito, when all the argument could have been is Tony could have said Vito's one of my biggest money makers, which he was. Like you
Well, I
would.
mean, that's just a matter of fact. I mean, it was just
Yeah,
stupid for him to protect who he protected, to get mad over what he got mad. He's such an unlikable character.
yeah.
And if people reveled over him, they're just stupid too. Like, if you're watching this and you like Tony, fuck you. So that's all I gotta
Yeah,
say.
it was, I don't know. Maybe there was supposed to be likable characters in the story, or maybe you were supposed to feel sorry for somebody, but it was hard for me to feel sorry for anybody.
Hmm.
Everybody's thought it was sad what happened to Adriana, but at the same, like, what do you think's going to happen if you're dating
Yeah.
a
He's a dirtbag
mob
too.
guy and you're talking to the feds? Like, what do you think's going to happen?
Hmm.
It wasn't hard to draw a line between her talking to them for a year and what happened.
Hmm.
Christopher blindly following Tony. Tony's a master manipulator and has been the closest thing to a dad that Christopher ever had growing up. So of course he's going to do stupid crap. And then the drug problem. I mean, just any of these characters, you want to feel sorry for him for about 10 minutes, and then after that you're just like, nope, you're beyond all help.
Sopranos was terrible. I'd never watch it again. I mean, it's just something in the memory banks, and I won't want to revisit ever. We could do that. What do you give it from 1 to 10? What do you rate it?
Like a 4.
Like a 4?
Yeah, it was pretty much honestly like the best part of the show for me was you at the very end realizing where the ending came from in the other show,
Yeah,
which
and
it's not
Sopranos
giving
came
it.
first. Like we looked it up, and
Yeah.
it was 2 years later. Everybody Hates Chris did the same thing. So I was now I'm wondering why Everybody Hates Chris ended like that. It doesn't make sense. Like, why would they copy that?
Somebody must have liked The Sopranos or thought it was funny, like stealing
Yeah.
the reference. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting that they spoofed it and how many people probably watched Hates Chris and never knew it was a spoof.
Yeah.
Like that part, maybe. Or because Sopranos was so popular that enough people that saw it actually knew it was a spoof and thought it was clever. I don't know.
Okay.
But
If I had to rate it, I really liked I like Syl, and I also liked Ralph because Ralph was a maniac, and just I thought he was a good character. But besides that, man, it's I gotta say at least a 3 out of 10.
the one thing I will give them is that the actors in the show did a really good job
Yeah,
with their
they did.
acting. Like,
Like I
because
said, if
you
that was their
genuinely
intention,
hate the characters.
yeah, if that was the director's or the writer's intention was for you to hate every last one of these people and not like the show because you hated the people so much, they would be a 10 for me because that's that's what it would be. Like they did a good job, like you said, at acting as the most hated character you could possibly imagine. And we are
Yeah.
talking about that too, The Wire, because they were saying that The Sopranos is second best show ever made, which is false to us, and The Wire was third, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At least in The Wire, there was some good elements. Like Omar was amazing. I couldn't get enough of Omar. The first and second seasons were really good, and then it just fell off to, I don't know. It was just a bunch of gibberish, in my opinion. It could have been a way better show than what they portrayed, but the Omar element is what kept me around. And there was no character in The Sopranos that was an Omar at all.
Hmm.
And that's the best point I could make about the show.
Yeah, I don't actually know why we watched it to the end other than we kept waiting for
Yeah, we're
something to
already
get
in.
good.
No, fuck it.
Yeah.
We had to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But that's all we had to say about The Sopranos. First time watching it in 26 years. We wish we could take that part of our life back and we could have just had the baby that whole time. We could have had Zay and had a better time. Not to say she's bad, but we could have had good times instead of the deplorable times with the worst show in the history of man. Okay, that's all I got to say. All right, I'll talk to you all later. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys.